In a villa in the capital city. A tall, fair-skinned woman with a supple figure sat in front of her computer. Her alluring, pale face flushed with anger as she pounded her fists on the desk. Don't you understand the principle of innocent until proven guilty? Whoever makes the claim must provide the evidence, don't you get it? You say Snowboat plagiarized, shouldn't you be the one to provide proof? Why should others have to prove their innocence? The woman was none other than the famous video creator in the music and dance sections of Amateur Station. The mermaid diva. Ding! Storyshots reminds you to click the subscribe button at the bottom right corner to read the full novel. Her real name was Edith Jenkins. Her father was a renowned writer, and her mother was an entrepreneur. In short, their family was wealthy, and she didn't need to work. She could do whatever she wanted. So a few years ago, aboard Edith Jenkins became a video blogger on Amateur Station. She had been learning to sing and dance since she was young, and with her great figure, she quickly became famous on Amateur Station, amassing millions of fans, among which 1.01 million were LSPs. The bullet comments on her singing and dancing videos were mostly filled with remarks like, "Fair, big, and bounce." Edith didn't mind. She knew she had a great figure and was beautiful, and she believed she should show it off. Besides, she wasn't deliberately exposing herself, she was just naturally well endowed. What could she do about it? However, Edith still had some regrets. She had also learned songwriting, but her talent in that area was limited, and she couldn't produce anything good. So she always admired those talented songwriters and often browsed the original music section of Amateur Station. But the quality of most amateurs was quite limited. Most so-called original songs were filled with emotions but lacked any real skill. The night before last, Edith was casually browsing the music section. She came across an original song called "Unfortunately, It's Not You" by a newcomer named Snowboat. This acoustic performance video was his first work. This Snowboat had a bit of a twisted sense of humor. The song was clearly one that would make any heartbroken person cry. Yet he titled it "Original Healing Song," perfect for those who've just experienced heartbreak. Fortunately, Edith had never been in a relationship, but she still ended up crying her eyes out after listening to the song. It was just so good. How long had it been since she heard such a great original song? So Edith posted a status update, recommending the song to her fans. This was the reason why Zeb Lowe's video data surged shortly after he uploaded it the night before. A video blogger with 1 million fans had given him free publicity. Edith didn't lack money or seek profit, she simply liked the song. Today, seeing the song she liked gaining more and more traction and even making it to the homepage of Amateur Station, she felt very happy. It felt like the treasure she had discovered first was finally being recognized by everyone. When I first discovered it, it was just a little thing. Look at it now, it's grown so much. That nurturing feeling was just so satisfying. However, the good times didn't last long. Just as "Unfortunately, It's Not You" was starting to gain some traction, a guy named Keyboard Warrior jumped out, accusing it of plagiarism. Edith was frustrated. The original song I liked, the one I recommended to my fans, and now you're saying it's plagiarized? And without any evidence? She immediately started arguing with the guy. But this Keyboard Warrior clearly had a lot of experience in slandering people. He kept insisting that "Unfortunately, It's Not You" sounded similar to many other songs. But when asked which songs, he just replied, "Those who know, know." No need to say more. Edith was furious and went on a rant against the guy, but it backfired. Her involvement as a well-known video blogger only made the situation worse. Her debate with the Keyboard Warrior shot straight to the top of the comments section for "Unfortunately, It's Not You." Newcomers immediately saw the word plagiarism and started asking what was going on. They thought the song was pretty good, could it really be plagiarized? That would be such a shame. Edith was frustrated and a bit guilty. She knew her good intentions had backfired. Her temper always got the best of her when things went wrong. Regret wouldn't help now. Edith thought for a moment and was about to send a private message to Snowboat to apologize and ask if he needed help. Then she saw a comment from Snowboat in the thread. "New work coming on the 1st of next month, also original. Stay tuned." He even emphasized "also original," clearly addressing the plagiarism accusations. The comments section exploded again. Mermaid Diva at Keyboard Warrior, what do you have to say now? Keyboard Warrior, Snowboat can just release any junk song and claim it's not plagiarized? Mermaid Diva, the song isn't even out yet, and you already know it's junk? Keyboard warrior, the song isn't out yet, and you already know it's a masterpiece? Mermaid diva, fine, let's wait and see on the 1st of next month. If it's an original masterpiece, you have to upload a video publicly apologizing. Keyboard warrior, a big-time video creator with 1 million followers demanding an apology? So scary. Seeing this reply, Edith jumped up in anger, slamming her fists on the computer desk so hard it almost fell apart. Without thinking, she typed furiously with trembling fingers. Mermaid diva, if Snowboat's new song is really junk, I'll upload a video publicly apologizing, saying I misjudged him. Keyboard warrior quickly replied, deal. The comments section buzzed even more, with various jokesters chiming in. Suggest the diva wears black stockings while apologizing, to show sincerity. And a deep V-neck, to make it more sincere. White stockings. White stockings are timeless. Edith had no time to deal with these jokesters. Panting with anger, she sent a private message to Snowboat. Hang in there. Prove yourself. I'm rooting for you. Then she sent another, you okay? In the backstage dressing room of X City TV, Zeb saw the private messages from Mermaid Diva. He realized that after he posted his video the night before last, Mermaid Diva had helped promote it. And today, she had even argued with the rumor mongers in the comments to help him. Zeb had seen Mermaid Diva's videos in the music section. They were singing and dancing performances. Though her singing was average, her dancing was quite good. Plus, she had a great figure, which attracted many fans. As a man, Zeb also enjoyed watching cute girls sing and dance. It was much better than those so-called influencers who relied solely on beauty filters and a few hip shakes to get famous. Zeb never expected that one day this million-follower beauty video creator would argue with others for his sake. She really had a warm heart. Zeb had just received Ordinary Road. He was considering when to release this new song since his previous song had just come out recently. Then came the plagiarism accusations. Oh, come on. At most, he was a transporter, moving songs from Earth to Blue Star, 2 parallel worlds. How could transporting be called plagiarism? It was mid-month now. In about 2 weeks, the exposure and popularity of Unfortunately, It's Not You would peak. Releasing Ordinary Road on the 1st of next month would be perfect. This way, his 2 songs wouldn't compete for attention. As for the rumor mongers, Zeb couldn't care less. He had seen all kinds of tricks in the entertainment industry. Let that keyboard warrior jump around for a few days, soon, he'd know who the real boss was. Out of courtesy and gratitude to the enthusiastic Mermaid Diva, Zeb replied. Thank you for promoting my work before. I actually enjoy watching your videos, your dancing is excellent. My new song won't just be good, it'll be even better. Stay tuned. After replying, Zeb put his phone back in his pocket. Judging by the time, he estimated that Myra Simpson's turn was coming up. So he decided to go take a look. As he walked out of the dressing room, he saw the assistant, Ms. Lloyd, hurriedly running past. Though officially an assistant director, she seemed more like an errand runner. Ms. Lloyd, could I trouble you for a moment? Zeb called out politely. The young woman stopped, wiped the sweat from her forehead, and asked, Are you Ms. Simpson's assistant? What do you need? Zeb replied, Could I go into the recording hall to watch Ms. Simpson perform? The selection rules for I Am a Singer are determined by the votes of 500 live audience members. Typically, only singers, audience members, and staff are allowed inside the recording hall. The young woman looked at Zeb with a peculiar expression on her face. Don't you know? Ms. Simpson was the first to perform. She finished a while ago. Yvette Smith, who is the 7th performer, is singing now. Zeb was taken aback, realizing he hadn't been paying enough attention to his boss. He quickly asked, Do you know how Ms. Simpson's performance went? How was the live reaction? Ms. Lloyd's expression grew even more peculiar, as if she was hesitant to speak. Finally, she said, Follow me. I'll take you to the control room, and you can see for yourself. When Zeb followed Ms. Lloyd to the control room, he found Leroy Higgins, the director of I Am a Singer. Frowning deeply, staring at 7 or 8 monitors with a troubled expression. Ms. Lloyd whispered to Zeb, Don't say anything. Wait until Ms. Smith finishes her song. The director will go to the singer's room to announce the rankings. I'll pull up the footage for you after he leaves. The singer's room is where the 7 singers gather after their performances. And where the director announces the rankings at the end of each episode. Zeb looked at Ms. Lloyd's rosy, oval face, surprised by her willingness to help. He nodded, and they both stood quietly, listening to Yvette Smith's performance. Zeb was very familiar with Yvette. To be honest, her singing skills weren't bad, but they fell short of top-tier standards. On the prestigious stage of I Am a Singer, she was merely passable. At that moment, Yvette was singing a classic old song with a catchy melody and low difficulty. She performed it competently. However, being the last to perform gave her an advantage. When she finished, the 500 live audience members gave her a warm round of applause. Yvette's cheeks were flushed with excitement, clearly pleased with her performance. And she repeatedly bowed to thank the audience. Zeb shook his head. After all these years, Yvette's singing skills hadn't improved. At this rate, she might not last beyond 4 episodes. The rules of I Am a Singer involve eliminating one singer every 2 episodes, with a new singer joining in the next episode. The singer with the lowest cumulative score over 2 episodes is eliminated. Yvette walked off the stage, content, while Leroy Higgins hurried out of the control room to the voting room, where the votes for the 7 singers would be tallied in about half an hour. He would then go to the singers' room to announce the results. Once Leroy left, Ms. Lloyd turned to Zeb and said, "Follow me." She hopped to a computer like a little rabbit, operated it for a few moments, and pulled up Myra Simpson's performance footage, handing Zeb a pair of headphones. Zeb put on the headphones and watched the computer screen. On stage, Myra wore a black gauze dress, the hem just reaching her knees, revealing her long, white legs, which sparkled under the lights. Her appearance drew huge cheers and exclamations from the audience. Myra's beauty and good figure were indeed impeccable. However, Zeb noticed that her face was a bit pale, indicating that her recent stomachache had affected her. Myra was singing one of her hit songs, but her voice was a bit hoarse today, lacking its usual clarity and breath control. Although her performance was passable, it lacked highlights and fell short of her usual standard. As Myra finished her performance and walked off the stage, her steps were unsteady, and Zeb worried she might fall. Taking off the headphones, Zeb said to Ms. Lloyd, "Thank you, Ms. Lloyd." "No problem," the young woman smiled and asked softly, "Is Ms. Simpson feeling unwell?" Zeb was silent for a moment, then nodded. It was clear that Myra's poor condition was noticeable even to the staff. However, it seemed likely that Myra's ranking in this episode would not be ideal. Zeb returned to the dressing room, and about an hour later, Myra and her group came back. "Myra, it's okay. You were just feeling under the weather this time. Let's give it our all next round." Nettie Collins was trying to comfort Myra, while Honor Van was on the phone. "Mr. Osgood, how have you been lately?" Yes, Myra has always loved your songs. Do you have any suitable pieces recently?" "Oh, alright, no problem, we'll collaborate next time." From her conversation, it seemed she was looking for songwriters, but the other party had declined. Judging by her demeanor, she had probably called several songwriters already. Myra's face was even paler than it had been on stage, clearly in the worst possible state. Seeing Zeb, Myra pursed her lips and suddenly said to him, "You were right." Zeb was taken aback, not knowing what she meant. Myra continued, "I want to take care of my voice. Let's do as you suggested." "Myra?" Honor Van was also surprised, but her face quickly showed a look of relief. She smiled and said, "I'm glad you're thinking this way. Let's focus on getting healthy first. We can win everything back later." After the recording of the show ended, the 4 of them left X City TV in a car, under a sky full of stars. Myra fell asleep shortly after getting in the car, her head resting against the window. Arms crossed, lips lightly biting, even in sleep she looked stubborn, refusing to lie down. Nettie draped a coat over her and sighed softly. "If I had known, we wouldn't have joined this show." Ms. Van glared at her. Who wouldn't fight tooth and nail to get on a top show like I Am a Singer? Nettie pouted, while Zeb, driving, asked in a low voice, "What place did Miss Simpson get?" Nettie replied gloomily, "7th. Zeb was slightly stunned but then thought it wasn't surprising. Myra's condition today was indeed poor, 7th place wasn't undeserved. No wonder Ms. Van had been contacting songwriters, probably hoping to secure a great song for Myra to make a comeback in the next round. Indeed, if a well-known diva were eliminated in the first 2 rounds, it would be quite a scandal. Those haters wouldn't care if you were unwell, they'd just seize the opportunity to criticize and mock you. The pressure on Myra would only increase. Nettie glanced at Myra, confirmed she was asleep, and then said indignantly, "I can't stand Yvette Smith. She's so rude, such a petty person." Half an hour later, in a 5-star hotel. "I finally beat Myra Simpson once." Yvette's cheeks were flushed, her expression excited. "Miss Clark, did you see Myra's face earlier? She used to never even look at me. Now she finally knows who I am, right?" Yvette was so excited that veins were bulging on her forehead, making her pretty face look somewhat fierce. Earlier, at the end of the first recording of I Am a Singer, Leroy Higgins, the director, had announced the rankings of the 7 singers. Yvette was 4th, and Myra was 7th. The rankings of the other singers generally matched their abilities, but the fact that the diva Myra ranked last surprised everyone. Yvette, the least famous, being 4th was also unexpected and meant she was unlikely to be eliminated in the next round. For Yvette, participating in I Am a Singer was not just about boosting her popularity through a top show. It was also about proving she was not inferior to Myra. Both debuted at the same time and were under Sky Cloud Entertainment. But their popularity and status were worlds apart. Normally, Yvette didn't even have the qualification to be compared with Myra. But today, Yvette finally defeated Myra head-on. When Leroy Higgins announced Myra was 7th, everyone else was shocked. And Yvette, though internally ecstatic, had put on a surprised expression. When Leroy announced she was 4th, Yvette, full of pride, stood up amidst the applause and said, "The stage is fair. No matter your fame, good singers will eventually be seen." The first part of her statement sounded quite inspirational, but the latter part had a clear implication. "From today on, I won't be overshadowed anymore." Her words made the room fall silent. Everyone there was in the industry and knew that both Yvette and Myra were under Sky Cloud Entertainment. And naturally, Yvette, a second-tier singer, couldn't compare to Myra in terms of resources. It was clear that Yvette was implying that Myra had been suppressing her. But now she had finally won against Myra with her own strength. In reality, Myra and Yvette had little interaction. It was just that Yvette was unwilling to remain beneath others and resented that Myra was always so high above, never even looking at her. Today, Yvette finally had her moment of triumph, and her excitement was palpable. Remembering the scene when the rankings were announced, Zelda Clark also smiled, feeling vindicated, but she still calmly reminded, "Now it's just the first round, let's prepare well. If we can maintain this ranking in the second round, and once Myra Simpson gets eliminated, there won't be any singers similar to you left. You might be able to go further." Yvette was excited for a moment, but gradually calmed down and remembered something, frowning as she said, "What about Zeb Lowe? Her career was on the rise. And if Zeb came out with something scandalous at this critical juncture, her pure image would crumble, which would have a huge impact." Zelda Clark said, "Since Zeb didn't mention your relationship to anyone today, it means he still holds some fantasy about you. Next time he comes to X City, we'll talk to him again and make sure to dispel his illusions." Yvette nodded, a bit annoyed. "I was too young back then, I didn't expect Zeb to be such a persistent man." Around 10 o'clock at night, at the Hilton Hotel. In Myra's room. Just like yesterday. She walked out of the bathroom in her tightly wrapped pajamas and said to Zeb, "I'm going to rest." Then she walked to the bed, pulled the curtain over, and lay down. Okay. Zeb also slept on the sofa, just like last night. Seeing this, Honor and Nettie also went along with it, reminding Myra to rest early before leaving her room. "Ms. Van, why do you think Myra suddenly agreed to let Zeb accompany her again?" Nettie was still a bit puzzled after leaving Myra's room. Honor didn't know what was going on either, but with Zeb around, Myra's safety was temporarily not a concern, and she could focus on other things. Right now, Myra needed to take care of her health, recover her voice and singing skills as soon as possible. And Honor needed to help her find good songs suitable for performing on I Am a Singer. From the second round onwards, no singer could perform their own songs anymore. This was also a test of their overall strength. Myra had already chosen a few songs herself, but after today's failure, she overturned her choices. To achieve a comeback in the second round, she needed to find songs that were more suitable for her and of high quality. However, finding such songs in just a few days was not easy. Honor suddenly remembered what Myra had said before leaving the room. "Ms. Van, I'll think of a way for the song." She wanted to ask Myra about it, but seeing her pale face, she didn't say more and let her rest early. Maybe Myra was just trying to comfort her, telling her not to worry too much. In Myra's room, it was as quiet as the night before, with the occasional sound of cars passing by downstairs in the darkness. Zeb, as usual, used his phone to check on a station. The play count of "Unfortunately, It's Not You" had surpassed 500,000. And Snowboat's followers had reached 80,000. In the comments section, people were still following the lead of the keyboard warrior, questioning whether his song was plagiarized. Even after seeing his new song preview, they still didn't believe it, thinking Zeb was just stalling for time. Mermaid Diva seemed to be really into it, constantly arguing with those who doubted Zeb, which only made the song more popular and controversial. Many people in the music section of Amateur Station were waiting for the first day of next month to see what kind of original song this Snowboat would release. Zeb didn't really care. His goal was never to waste time on these trolls from Amateur Station. At this moment, the fake girl Lonely Plum sent him another private message. "Are you there? I want to discuss something with you." Zeb replied, "What is it?" Lonely Plum quickly sent a message that surprised Zeb. "I want to buy the rights to Unfortunately, It's Not You." "How much?" Zeb was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but laugh. This fake girl seemed a bit cute. Asking to buy song rights like buying vegetables, directly asking how much. "How much are your melons? Are they ripe?" Zeb asked, "Why do you want to buy the rights to my song?" The other party quickly replied, "I want to sing this song on stage." "Sing this song on stage?" Zeb remembered this fake girl saying last time that she was a singer, and the kind that people would recognize just by hearing her voice. He couldn't help but laugh and typed, "Are you serious?" Lonely Plum, yes. Zeb found this person quite interesting, either they were boasting or just messing with him. It was simple, if you were really a famous singer, why would you be on Amateur Station? But since he wasn't sleepy anyway, he decided to play along and asked, "How much are you planning to pay for the rights?" The other party didn't say much and directly offered, 300,000. Zeb was stunned, not quite understanding what the other party was up to. "You actually offered a price?" He felt that the other party didn't seem to be joking, so he seriously replied, "Sorry, I'm not planning to sell the rights for now, but I can sell the cover rights." Unfortunately, It's Not You was a hit-level song, but since he wasn't famous yet, the song rights couldn't be sold for a high price. Selling it now would be a pity. Actually, the 300,000 offered by Lonely Plum wasn't a low price. The rights to songs by ordinary lyricists and composers were usually just a few thousand to tens of thousands. Only well-known lyricists and composers could sell their song rights for high prices. When Zeb becomes famous and turns into a top-tier songwriter, the copyright for his songs will be worth millions, maybe even more. That will be the best time to sell his songs. However, if this Lonely Plum genuinely wants to sing this song, it's still possible to sell him the cover rights. As soon as Zeb sent out the message, the other party immediately replied, 50,000. Zeb shocked. "Are you alright, buddy? You offer 300,000 for the song's copyright, but only 50,000 for a cover? Do you even know how to buy songs, or anything at all? If you did business like this, you'd bankrupt yourself." But from the looks of it, the other party didn't seem to be joking. After all, he had been quite professional when discussing music with Zeb earlier. He seemed to be a serious person. Seeing that Zeb hadn't replied for a while, Lonely Plum sent another message. 60,000. Zeb was a bit stunned and quickly responded, 50,000 is fine. He's not greedy. The cover rights for a popular song really only fetch around 30,000 to 40,000 at most, considering it's just for a one-time performance. Earning this kind of cover fee is like making money while lying down, one shouldn't be too greedy. At this point, Lonely Plum asked, "How do I pay you?" Zeb realized this guy had no idea how to handle song transactions. "We haven't even signed a contract, and you want to pay me already? Are you stupid?" Zeb sent a "please wait" message and looked for a template for a song cover agreement on his phone. After making some minor edits, he sent it over. Having worked as Yvette's assistant for 3 years, he was very familiar with such trivial matters. "Let's sign the cover agreement tomorrow and then send me a photo of it." "Lonely Plum, I'll pay you now." Quite urgent, isn't he? Zeb couldn't help but laugh. This guy seemed genuinely clueless. Luckily, he encountered Zeb, otherwise, a scammer could have easily deceived him. Zeb thought for a moment and sent his sister's bank account number. "Just transfer the money to this account." Zeb's family situation was a bit complicated. He had an older sister and a younger sister. The older sister was a real sister from different parents, while the younger sister was a full-blood sibling. His younger sister was still in her sophomore year and often worked part-time during holidays. She was a very sensible girl. Zeb frequently sent money to his younger sister and knew her bank account number by heart. If Lonely Plum really wanted to buy the cover rights, the $50,000 would be just enough for his younger sister's tuition and living expenses for the next few years. After a while, Lonely Plum sent another message: "The payment is done." Zeb hadn't had time to reply when his phone buzzed. It was his sister, Zeb Lowe, calling. Zeb was startled. Luckily, he had set his phone to silent mode, or he would have woken Myra. He quickly got up from the sofa, quietly opened the door, and walked out. After gently closing the door, he answered the call. "Brother, I just received $50,000. There was no formality between the siblings." Salma got straight to the point. Since Zeb often sent her money, she immediately thought of him when she received a bank notification for a $50,000 transfer. "Yes, Salma, it's money I made from a business deal. It's just enough for your tuition and living expenses." Zeb smiled, feeling a bit surprised. He hadn't expected Lonely Plum to pay so quickly. Could this person really be a singer? "I'll save the money." Salma didn't say much. She had previously told Zeb not to send her money, but he didn't listen. So Salma saved all the money Zeb sent her. Zeb, worried that she wouldn't have enough, sent more, and Salma saved more. The siblings ended up creating a funny internal circulation of money. Hearing his sister's calm tone, Zeb had no choice. Despite being under 20, Salma was very decisive. And once she made up her mind, no one could change it. "All right, if you need money, just use it. I can make more." Zeb had no choice but to give a few more reminders before hanging up. Returning to the room, he quietly closed the door and saw that Myra on the bed behind the curtain seemed to have moved. "Did I wake her?" Zeb quietly returned to the sofa and lay down, sending a message to Lonely Plum. "I received the money. When do you plan to do the cover?" He was a bit curious about where this odd fellow would sing. "Unfortunately, it's not you." "Next Tuesday." Lonely Plum replied, then said no more. Zeb looked helplessly at the reply. "You just give me a time, but no location. How am I supposed to know where to watch?" Meanwhile, on the bed behind the curtain, Myra curled up under the blanket. Her stomach still felt a bit uncomfortable, and she was tired, but she was mentally excited. Next week, she could sing "Unfortunately, It's Not You" on the stage of I Am a Singer. She had liked the song ever since she first heard it 2 nights ago and always thought it would be perfect if sung by a female voice. Originally, she planned to buy the song's copyright, but this was good too. Buying the cover rights meant she could sing it at least once next week. As a singer, what could be more interesting than singing your favorite songs on stage? Myra took out her earphones and played the video of Snowboat's rendition of "Unfortunately, It's Not You" once again. In the darkness, moonlight spilled onto the edge of the bed. The slender girl on the bed closed her eyes, her lips curling into a slight smile. The next day, L City, Snow Plum Garden. "Myra, take a good rest these days, and remember to adjust your routine and diet properly." "Myra, Zeb, good luck." Honor drove Myra and Zeb to the underground parking lot of the neighborhood. Before leaving, she reminded Myra, while the assistant, Nettie, cheerfully shouted good luck to the two. "Okay." Hearing Honor and Nettie words, Myra responded with a hum, then turned and walked towards the parking lot elevator. Zeb waved to the two, dragging his suitcase as he entered the elevator with Myra. The elevator cabin was very quiet. Myra remained as cool and detached as ever. But Zeb noticed that she seemed a bit distracted today, as if she were deep in thought. When they returned home, Myra was about to head upstairs but was stopped by Zeb. "Miss Simpson, wait a moment." Myra stopped and turned to look at him, only to see Zeb take a box of milk from the refrigerator, pour it into a cup, heat it in the microwave, and then bring it to her. Smelling the milk, Myra immediately frowned, covered her mouth, and took 2 steps back, her snow-white eyes looking at Zeb. She disliked milk to the point that the mere smell of it made her want to vomit. So there was never any milk in the house. She didn't even know why there was milk in her refrigerator now. Could it be that he bought it? Seeing Myra glaring at him coldly, Zeb shrugged. "Miss Simpson, your health is too poor. You should really supplement it, and milk is very suitable for you." Myra covered her mouth, her cold voice drifting out from between her fingers. "I don't like drinking milk," Zeb said helplessly. On the way back, Ms. Van told me to take full responsibility for your diet and make sure you get proper nutrition. Myra looked at him and threw out 2 words, not drinking. Zeb immediately picked up his phone and called Honor, putting it on speaker. Ms. Van, I plan to have Ms. Simpson drink 2 glasses of milk every day. It's good for her health and her stomach, but Ms. Simpson says she doesn't like milk. Honor's voice came from the other end. Myra, I forgot to tell you, Mr. Lowe will be responsible for arranging your diet. You need to listen to him, it's for your own good. Ms. Van, why should I listen to him? Myra was somewhat incredulous. This guy had only been here for 2 days, so why did Ms. Van trust him so much? Honor continued, Myra, don't be stubborn. If you don't like listening to Mr. Lowe, shall we get another assistant? Myra fell silent. Although she didn't like being followed by a strange man. Zeb was barely acceptable among strange men. If they really changed to another personal assistant, it probably wouldn't be better than him. Myra pondered for a moment, bit her lip, and nodded, okay. Honor was very pleased and gave a few more reminders before hanging up. Zeb, smiling, once again brought the milk to her. Myra coldly looked at him, took the cup, and grudgingly poured the milk into her mouth. An expression of discomfort appeared on her exquisite face. She was not used to drinking milk, but this guy was just staring at her. So she had no choice but to pinch her nose and drink it down. After drinking, she shoved the cup into Zeb's hand, turned around, and ran upstairs, like a little girl throwing a tantrum. If Myra's fans saw this scene, they couldn't help but exclaim, "Our Ice Queen goddess can be so cute?" Seeing Myra go upstairs, Zeb also returned to his room. Turned on his computer, logged into Amateur Station, and checked his data. As soon as he logged in, he received a site notification. Dear Snowboat, congratulations on reaching 100,000 fans. Keep up the good work and aim for 1 million. Zeb was a bit surprised. He didn't expect that after releasing his first song, his number of fans would surpass 100,000 in just 3 days. Of course, this also included the argument with the mermaid diva and the trolls yesterday. This helped keep the song's popularity rising. And now unfortunately, It's Not You had reached 700,000 plays. Naturally, the higher the popularity, the more trolls appeared. The comments section still had many people making sarcastic remarks, accusing him of plagiarism. But Zeb couldn't be bothered to deal with these idiots. Once Ordinary Road was released, these people would naturally shut up. At this moment, the mermaid diva sent him a private message on the site. Hey, I want to use your song as the background music for a dance video I'm recording. Is that okay? Yesterday, Zeb had briefly thanked the mermaid diva, then went on with his work. He didn't expect this million-follower beauty video creator to contact him again today. After some thought, he realized that she wasn't performing a cover on stage but merely using the song as background music, which didn't involve copyright issues. Moreover, she had helped him fight off trolls. She seemed like a nice person, and it was a small favor, so he replied, "Sure." After speaking, Zeb kindly reminded, "I've seen you dance. Unfortunately, It's Not You is a gentle and melancholic song, which might not suit you." Zeb genuinely meant well. He had seen the mermaid diva's videos and knew that her style was fiery and passionate, which didn't fit the gentle love song. However, Edith didn't see it that way and immediately asked gloomily, "Are you saying I'm not womanly enough?" Oh, Zeb realized he had misspoken and quickly replied, "I have something to do, let's chat next time." Suddenly, a familiar melody came from the second floor, followed by Myra's voice. This moment suddenly feels so familiar. Like yesterday and today are being played simultaneously. Zeb was stunned. Wasn't this Unfortunately, It's Not You? Why was Myra singing his song? Unfortunately, It's Not You. Who stayed with me till the end. We walked together but got lost at that intersection. As Zeb was feeling both surprised and puzzled, the singing from the second floor continued. Unmistakably the melody and lyrics of Unfortunately, It's Not You. However, Myra was playing the piano. And her voice was softer and more tender than Zeb's, adding more melancholy and softness. Zeb listened for a while, and those lines appeared before his eyes again. Encounter Earth memory replication in progress, replication progress 95%. Lonely Hero Earth memory replication in progress, replication progress 45%. Collection of Tang and Song poetry, Earth memory replication in progress, replication progress 80%. Extreme Challenge Show planning, Earth memory replication in progress, replication progress 10%. Indeed, there were currently only two ways to increase the Earth memory progress. One was to listen to Myra sing live. Watching videos or listening to recordings on TV or phones didn't count. The other was to have physical contact with Myra, and the closer the contact, the faster the replication progress. Why did everything have to do with Myra? Did it mean that to remember more classic Earth entertainment works, he had to stay with Myra? But he was just an assistant on a 3-month short-term contract. Zeb felt there had to be more than these two methods, he just hadn't explored enough. Zeb didn't think much more about it and carefully read the lines before him, noticing that a new variety show had appeared this time. Extreme Challenge, he vaguely remembered, was also very popular on Earth. Especially the first 2 seasons, which were almost the pinnacle of Earth variety shows. Judging by the description, this memory should be the complete show plan for Extreme Challenge. Was this pushing him towards becoming a variety show director? Or should he directly sell the show to a TV station? Next week, Myra Simpson was going to X City TV to record I Am a Singer. He could find an opportunity to see if he could get in touch with people from X City TV's program department. Suddenly, a flushed oval face flashed in his mind. That assistant Lloyd who was always running errands. Maybe he could try starting with her. As Zeb was thinking, his phone vibrated. Lonely Plum had sent him a message on the amateur station. Should I use breathy voice in the second verse of the main song? Zeb was stunned, then glanced at the second floor and immediately replied to Lonely Plum. Don't deliberately use a breathy voice. This song really tests the singer's low range, you can use more diaphragm voice. The so-called diaphragm is located below the lungs and above the stomach. Using diaphragm voice can make the throat more relaxed, the breath more stable, and avoid the problem of not being able to hit low or high notes. Professional singers naturally know this technique. Zeb's reminder quickly took effect. And the sound of the piano and singing came from the second floor again. This time, Myra sang much more smoothly. And the low parts of the second verse were also full of magnetism. And Zeb was stunned. Lonely Plum was Myra Simpson? Zeb remembered Lonely Plum always saying she was a singer. The kind that could be recognized immediately when she sang. A small diva with countless fans and super popularity. Wouldn't she be recognized as soon as she sang? Zeb thought this was too much of a coincidence. Soon, the singing on the second floor stopped again, and Lonely Plum sent another message. My transition from the main song to the chorus is very abrupt. You sing it very naturally. How do you do it? Myra was asking him for advice again. However, this woman really didn't know how to communicate with people. She just got straight to the point without even calling him teacher. Zeb really wanted to tease her, but thinking about her personality, he decided against it and carefully answered Myra's question. Then the piano and singing started again on the second floor. This time, Myra followed the details Zeb had mentioned, and the effect was very good. After singing a couple of lines, Myra felt something was off, stopped again, and sent a message to Snow Boat on the amateur station for advice. Zeb simply sat on the sofa in the living room, answering Myra's questions while listening to her sing, then answering her questions again. The scene was quite odd, the lyricist and original singer were right downstairs. Yet she insisted on asking for advice via text on her phone. It looked like remote guidance, but in reality, they were under the same roof. The entire afternoon passed quickly in this strange practice and remote guidance. Around 5 o'clock, Zeb put down his phone and began to cook. This was also one of his duties as a personal assistant. However, since it was just for 2 people, it wasn't too troublesome. Zeb quickly finished cooking, walked to the bottom of the stairs, and shouted upwards. Miss Simpson, come down for dinner. There was no response from the second floor, instead, singing could be heard. Myra was deeply engrossed in her practice. Zeb was helpless and had to shout again, Miss Simpson, take a break and eat first. Still, the piano and singing did not stop. Soon, Myra reached a part she was not satisfied with and sent a message using the name Lonely Plum. Isn't it better to raise the key a bit for the last line of the chorus, can still warm my heart? Zeb replied with a hint of annoyance, using the name Snow Boat. I'm going to eat now, you should eat too. Soon, the sound of footsteps came from the second floor. Myra walked down the stairs and saw Zeb standing in the living room. She asked somewhat uneasily, Is it time to eat? Zeb laughed. When I called you, you didn't listen, but when Snowboat calls you, you do, huh? Zeb and Myra sat at the dining table to eat. But Myra still seemed a bit awkward, keeping her head down, as if afraid of being seen by Zeb. This was the second time she had eaten at home with a strange man. The first time was also with this guy. And this feeling was quite strange, making her very uncomfortable. This was also why Myra preferred to starve rather than come downstairs to eat with Zeb that night. Moreover, today this guy seemed a bit strange, staring at her constantly. What did he want? Myra kept her head down, chewing on the stir-fried beef, almost burying her face in the bowl. In fact, Zeb wasn't intentionally staring at her. He was just still in shock from the realization that Myra was Lonely Plum. Especially seeing Myra sitting right in front of him, it felt even more amusing. Finally, Zeb asked, "Ms. Simpson, I heard you practicing singing upstairs earlier?" Myra paused and responded in a low voice, "Yes." Zeb smiled and asked again, "This song sounds pretty good." Talking about music, Myra finally raised her head, "You think it's good too?" Zeb nodded. Of course, a good song is recognizable at first listen. Myra's lips curved slightly. "It's a good song." Zeb asked, "I've never heard this song before, is it new?" Myra nodded. Zeb continued, "Who is the songwriter?" "It's quite well written." A rare smile appeared on Myra's face. "Yes, a genius songwriter." "Wow, she's calling me a genius songwriter now?" Zeb looked at Myra's bright eyes and suddenly thought of something, asking tentatively, "Ms. Simpson, are you planning to sing this song in the second episode of I Am a Singer?" Myra looked at him. "Is that not good?" Sure enough, she really planned to sing. "Unfortunately, it's not you on the stage of I Am a Singer next week." Zeb smiled. "There are only 3 days left. I'm worried that Ms. Simpson won't have enough time to practice this song." Myra paused, looking down at the rice in her bowl, and slowly said, "I will practice well." Zeb said, "You can ask that genius songwriter for more guidance." Myra nodded. "I've already asked." "Oh, I see." Zeb said, "Then that person can be considered your teacher, right?" Myra was taken aback, then said, "Yes, you're right." Probably busy with continuing her practice. She quickly finished eating and stood up to go upstairs. Zeb stopped her, grinning as he handed her a glass of milk. "Miss Simpson, your second glass today." Myra looked at the fragrant milk and instinctively took a step back. "I'm full." "Then I'll leave it here for you to drink later?" Myra gave him a cold look, took the glass, and gulped down the milk, then heavily placed the glass back into Zeb's hand. "Now it's done, hic." Before she finished speaking, she hiccuped. She drank too quickly. Myra's fair face turned from white to red, and the blush quickly spread to her ears, turning her entire face red. That night, and today, Myra felt like all the embarrassing moments of her life were concentrated in these 2 days. And it was all in front of the same person. She turned and ran up the stairs, hiding in the music room, her chest still heaving with frustration. She couldn't stay on the first floor anymore. Myra could only immerse herself in music to escape the awkward reality of another embarrassing moment. She started practicing "Unfortunately, It's Not You" again and found another detail issue in the chorus. She picked up her phone, ready to ask Snow Boat. Before typing, she suddenly remembered what that guy said earlier. That person can be considered your teacher, right? Thinking about it, he was right. The person only sold her the cover rights and had no obligation to teach her for free. Myra then typed a message to Snowboat. "Thank you, Teacher Snowboat." Then he used mobile banking to transfer $20,000 to Snowboat's account. Downstairs, Zeb received a message from Lonely Plum and couldn't help but laugh. This Myra was quite adorable. She actually called him teacher. Next, his sister Solma sent a message. "Brother, I received another $20,000. Zeb was startled and instinctively looked upstairs before messaging Lonely Plum. "Did you transfer another $20,000? Lonely Plum quickly replied, "This is the fee for teacher's guidance." Zeb was speechless. During dinner, he had deliberately teased Myra just for fun, without any other intention. He didn't expect that Myra would actually transfer money again. "Why are you so straightforward?" Lonely Plum then sent another message, directly asking about the details of singing "Unfortunately, It's Not You." Zeb had no choice but to seriously answer her questions, feeling a bit helpless about Myra's thought process. After all, she called him teacher and paid him, so he couldn't just brush her off. As a result, Zeb found himself conned. From after dinner until past 11 at night, Myra's practice never stopped. She continuously asked him various detailed questions. Finally, Zeb had to use the excuse of strictly adhering to a rest schedule to get Myra to take a bath and rest. temporarily freeing himself from this question-asking machine. Zeb sighed and remembered something, quickly shouting towards the second-floor bathroom. "Miss Simpson, remember not to soak in the bath, or you'll faint again." A shy and annoyed voice came from the second floor. "Got it. Edith, it's so late, why aren't you resting yet?" In a villa in the capital, a middle-aged woman was shouting to her daughter, who was still bouncing around on the second floor. "Mom, I'll practice a little longer." "I don't believe I can't do it," Edith replied. Then closed her door and continued playing the video of Snowboat's performance of "Unfortunately, It's Not You," dancing to the accompaniment of the song. But as she danced, she felt the rhythm was off again. Just as Zeb had said before, "Unfortunately, It's Not You" is a slow-paced healing song. This kind of sad and gentle slow song didn't suit Edith's style. At first, Edith didn't believe it, but after a few practices, she realized she really couldn't dance to it properly. How is this possible? Such a gentle song doesn't suit me? Am I really not feminine enough? Thus, this famous video creator in the music and dance categories got fired up, vowing to master this song. "Ah, Snowboat, I must prove that I am a true woman." 3 days quickly passed with Myra's diligent practice. Tomorrow is the recording of the second episode of I Am a Singer. And today Zeb has to accompany Myra to X City again. Early in the morning, Honor and Nettie drove to Snow Plum Garden to pick them up. "Myra, you look great." "Yeah, Myra, you look like you've gained some weight and your complexion is rosy." Upon seeing Myra, Honor and Nettie were both surprised and scrutinized her. They didn't expect that in just 3 days, Myra's overall spirit and vitality had improved a lot. During these 3 days, Zeb strictly enforced a schedule, ensuring Myra ate on time, rested, and didn't stay up late. She also had milk, eggs, and various supplements every day. With a regular routine and diet, Myra's body quickly showed significant recovery. Gained weight? However, upon hearing Nettie's words, Myra, who was about to leave, became nervous and turned back into the house, hurriedly going upstairs. "What's wrong with Miss Simpson?" Zeb was puzzled. Honor lightly slapped Nettie. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Nettie stuck out her tongue and whispered to Zeb, "Myra has a digital scale in her bedroom." Zeb finally understood. Myra got nervous and went upstairs to weigh herself after hearing Nettie say she had gained weight. Sure enough, no matter how cold a woman might seem, she still cares about her weight. Soon, Myra came downstairs, looking a bit gloomy. The playful assistant approached and whispered, "Myra, did you really gain weight?" Myra glared at her, glanced at Zeb, and quickly walked out the door. Nettie hurried to catch up, and as she passed Zeb, she whispered with a smile, "It seems she really did gain weight. Zeb, you've done it. In just 3 days, you've made Myra plump and rosy." Ouch. Then she got a light slap on the back of her head from Honor. Pouting, the assistant dragged the suitcase forward pitifully. Zeb shook his head with a smile, just in time to see Myra walking into the elevator. He quickly assessed her slender and well-proportioned figure, which hadn't changed at all. And she still thinks she's gained weight? Women. The 4 of them went to the underground parking lot, got into the nanny van, and Nettie drove towards the L City airport. The second episode of I Am a Singer starts recording tomorrow. Today, Myra will go ahead to familiarize herself with the stage and rehearse with the band twice. "Myra, are you really going to sing that song? If you want to change it, there's still time." In the car, Honor asked uneasily. Yesterday, Myra had already sent her demo of Unfortunately, It's Not You to Honor, informing the company that she had decided to sing this song in the second episode of I Am a Singer. After all, being assigned artist of SkyCloud Entertainment, many things still needed to be communicated to the company in advance. The company also had many lyricists, composers, music producers, and a music director. After listening to the demo, they all thought the song was very good. But there was still some concern because the songwriter Snowboat turned out to be from amateur station, and a newcomer video creator at that. You have to understand, in the eyes of professional musicians in the entertainment industry, the people in the music section of amateur station were too amateurish. Especially those so-called amateur masters in the original section. The songs they wrote were full of emotion but lacked any technique. And this Snowboat was not even one of the masters of amateur station. Just a newcomer video creator, making his professionalism highly questionable. However, the quality of Unfortunately, It's Not You was indeed high. And eventually, Honor convinced the music director. making the company agree to let Myra perform this song. But there were conditions. If she got eliminated in the second episode, Myra would have to take on more variety shows and commercial performances to make up for the company's losses. After all, if the young diva got eliminated early, the subsequent impact would be significant. And the company would lose a lot of money. Although Honor had helped persuade the company, she still felt a bit anxious at the last minute. It's really hard to predict whether a song will become popular before it starts charting or is performed on stage. Hearing Honor's words, Myra firmly said, "No need to change." Seeing her so determined, Honor didn't persuade her further. Zeb quietly sat on the side looking at the scenery outside the window. Moments later, his phone beeped. He took it out and glanced at Myra. It was a private message from Lonely Plum on amateur station. "Teacher Snowboat, I'm going to sing on stage tomorrow." Due to Zeb's reminder about respecting the teacher, Myra had gotten increasingly used to calling him Teacher Snowboat over the past few days. Zeb felt a bit awkward. Sitting so close, would Myra find out that he was Snowboat? It wasn't that Zeb intentionally wanted to hide it. Initially, he didn't know Lonely Plum was Myra. Later, he just wanted to play a little joke on her. But unexpectedly, Myra really started calling him Teacher Snowboat and did so many times. What would happen if Myra found out he was Teacher Snowboat? Would the cold goddess go into a social death and angrily chop her male assistant with a kitchen knife? Forget it, better to keep it a secret for now. I'll slip away when the 3-month contract expires. Zeb quietly glanced at Myra, seeing her holding her phone and looking out the window. He quickly replied to her private message, "Pay attention to the details, and good luck." The next moment, Myra's phone beeped. She picked it up and looked at it, her lips curving slightly. Her fair fingers tapped a few times on the phone. And soon Zeb received a private message from Lonely Plum. "Thank you, teacher." Zeb was speechless. Cold and aloof in reality, yet so adorable online. "You're not a cold goddess, you're a versatile goddess, aren't you?" At noon, the four of them arrived at X City. After lunch, they hurried to X City TV. Because this episode was about eliminations, the program team staggered the practice times of the 7 singers to be fair. When Myra went to X City TV to practice, no other singers were present. Chief Director Leroy Higgins was very surprised after hearing her sing. Besides being amazed by the new song, he felt that Myra's condition had greatly improved. And her voice was as clear and bright as it was at its peak. With other singers still to come, Myra practiced twice before returning to the hotel. For the singers, the preparation for the second episode had already begun today. For the audience and fans, today was the big day for the premiere of the 3rd season of I Am a Singer. At 8 p.m., the first episode of the top-tier competitive variety show, I Am a Singer Season 3 finally aired amid much anticipation. For the 7 singers participating in the show, tonight was naturally filled with mixed emotions. For their fans, it was like a battle. I Am a Singer has always been seen as proof of a singer's status and a testing stone for their strength. First, if you were invited to participate, it proved you already had enough status. If you could achieve good results in the show, or even become the final king of singers, you would have the qualification to reach the top. The kings of singers from the first 2 seasons of I Am a Singer have now become the king and queen of the global music scene. X City TV had done a lot of promotion in the early stages, especially focusing on Myra, the most popular among the 7 singers, placing her in the center of the poster. As a national goddess and young diva in the music scene, Myra had both singing skills and looks, with countless fans. Previously, she had taken a short break due to illness. Now, she was finally making a comeback, and her comeback debut was I Am a Singer. This topic and attention were instantly maxed out. At this moment, at 8 p.m., countless people were already waiting in front of their TVs, computers, or phones for the show to begin. Meanwhile, the online discussions about I Am a Singer were also in full swing. Myra is finally back. Go, Myra! Win that title. Are Yvette and Myra finally going head-to-head? Yvette, really? Insider info, Myra will be at the bottom in the first episode, so her fans shouldn't get too cocky. Spreading rumors isn't illegal, is it? How could Myra be at the bottom? Rumors? Are you saying her backdoor dealings and being a mistress are just rumors? Fans of various singers quickly started to argue online, especially the fans of Yvette and Myra. Like Yvette, her fans always felt that Myra had stolen Yvette's resources. They were convinced that within the company, Myra was suppressing their idol. So Yvette's fans harbored a lot of hostility towards Myra. But because of the difference in their status, Yvette's fanbase wasn't as large as Myra's, and they couldn't win the arguments. However, this time, with the rare chance of competing on the same stage, Yvette's fans naturally hoped their idol could defeat Myra. Amidst the immense attention and heated arguments, I Am a Singer finally aired. At this moment, in the Hilton Hotel in X City, Myra had also turned on the TV, staring at herself on the stage. For the first episode, she drew the first performance slot. So after a brief intro and the host's interlude, she was quickly on stage. Nettie beside her couldn't help but say, "Myra, how about changing the channel?" Honor also added, "Myra, stop watching." They both knew the outcome. Myra ranked at the bottom. After the show aired, those haters online would surely mock and attack her. And they were worried it would affect her state of mind. Myra shook her head. "I want to see the broadcast effect and figure out where I sang poorly." Honor and Nettie fell silent. They knew Myra's personality. Once she made a decision, it was hard to change. Nettie suddenly looked at Zeb sitting beside them, clasping her hands in a pleading gesture. Zeb was helpless. "You two are her manager and assistant, and you've been with her for so long. If you can't persuade her, how can I?" At this moment, on the TV screen, Myra had already started singing. That day, her condition was indeed not great. There were many flaws during the performance, and her voice was a bit hoarse. Myra sat upright, frowned at the TV, and occasionally sang along softly, seemingly reviewing her performance. Zeb nodded slightly. Just for this self-reflective and serious attitude, she deserved her current popularity. But the online haters obviously didn't think so. As soon as Myra finished singing, many people were already bashing her. Terrible. This is the so-called diva? Can't even hit the high notes, and you still dare to sing? This song doesn't even require high notes. What's the point of this random bashing? Going first is really stressful, okay? Myra's fans defended her, arguing with those haters again. However, by the end of the show, when Leroy Higgins announced that Myra ranked 7th, the haters completely took over. Ha, bottom-ranked diva. A diva who gets eliminated in the second episode, what a joke. Not even as good as second-tier Yvette, that's pathetic. Where are Myra's brain-dead fans? Come out. Your goddess sang like this, and you still have the face to show up? Myra's fans were somewhat like her, not the type to argue irrationally. If she truly performed poorly, they wouldn't try to cover it up. Many just comforted her, encouraging her to do better next time and expressing their eternal support. But this also made the voices mocking Myra grow louder. Maybe someone intentionally bought hot searches. And soon Myra bottom-ranked was in the top 5 of the trending list. It wasn't just haters, some music critics also jumped in. Myra's voice, technique, and emotion were completely lacking. So young and already on the decline? How disappointing. I Am a Singer is this ruthless. Anyone who is all show and no substance is exposed clearly. Yvette's performance was a complete victory over Myra. Maybe she deserves the title of diva more? Among them were some who had taken bribes from Zelda Clark to belittle Myra and promote Yvette. In a hotel room, Yvette looked at the online mockery of Myra and the praise for her, her face full of smiles. Zelda was equally excited and said to Yvette, "The company is already considering investing more resources in you. If you work hard tomorrow and beat Myra again, we'll be back on top." Yvette nodded with a radiant face. "Myra is no longer my opponent. I need to aim higher." Zelda was taken aback. "What do you mean?" Yvette smiled confidently. "Tomorrow, I want to go for the first place." Zelda also smiled. "Yes, you're right. We shouldn't just focus on Myra, we need to have a longer-term vision. By the way," Zelda frowned slightly, "focus on the competition tomorrow. I'll go talk to Zeb Lowe." Yvette nodded. "Zeb is a bit stubborn. If he still wants to win me back, just offer more money." "Got it."